Alright everyone, we have a hellish windstorm going on right now, and it did knock out power for a little while earlier, so if my videos are scattered today as far as uploads, or if I only make like 2 of them or something and I'm not online really, that's probably the reason why. We have to talk about the announcement that Gonzalo Lira has died. That's Coachredpill. For those that don't know, he was in Ukraine reporting on the war and things pertinent to it, and he was arrested by the Ukrainian authorities, actually, who claimed that he was undermining the state. It fell under the no undermining our war effort sort of law, criticizing Zelensky, etc. It was not a great idea to do that, I think, but he wanted to sort of be on the ground and doing that, and apparently he's died in a Ukrainian prison. Gonzalo Lira now dead, confirmed, it appears, by his own father, so that's probably a good source of information, which is sad. It was entirely preventable. Effectively, he was murdered. Murdered by the U.S. regime, actually, more than anything else. Here's an American citizen held overseas under conditions that apparently, allegedly at least, involve torture. Certainly a Ukrainian prison is not going to conform to the human rights standards of a prison even in the United States, generally speaking. And the U.S. prison system is all sorts of bent out of shape too. Compared to a prison in the Netherlands or in Britain or certainly in Scandinavia, have you seen those places even for high-level incarcerated individuals? It's like night and day. Up in Scandinavia, you get your own little suite and a computer and all that shit. You've got a workout room, and yeah, you're up in the fucking Arctic Circle, but yeah, I mean, you've definitely got better food than you're going to get in a Ukrainian prison. Poor dude probably survived on nothing more than a couple of potatoes and some moldy cabbage on a daily basis for an extended period of time. The United States government should have gotten him released. They should have pressed for that to happen. This is a U.S. citizen who was charged under a law that would be considered unrecognizable under U.S. jurisdictions. A criticism of the U.S. government is not illegal. Speaking out against the U.S. diplomatic efforts is not illegal. This is what the United States should do. In any case where a U.S. citizen is incarcerated in a foreign country, lobbying efforts should be made to get them freed if it would be outside of our own legal system. So if you're, for example, you're charged with having a little bit of pot in Singapore, you could get the death penalty for that, and it's dumb to do. You shouldn't do it. It's on you that you were an idiot, but at the same time, the United States government should at least make some sort of attempt to get the individual freed and say, look, in our country, it's not a big thing. We've always had good relations. We trade a lot together. We're friends. We would appreciate it if you'd just send them back here and just deport them and prevent them from ever being able to re-enter the country. We should be pressing for that. I mean, think of what the United States does for all these other countries. We pump them full of money. We give them shit tons of weapons. We prop up entire economies. I would think that maybe other countries at the bare minimum can return the favor by enacting such a policy. Hey, if a U.S. citizen does dumb shit, it's because it's a dumb American, and so we're not going to look the other way, but we'll find them and we'll deport them and we'll restrict them from ever entering the country again. Or, there's a 20-year period they can't re-enter or something like that. Gonzalo Lira, fundamentally, was only exercising his right to free expression. Now, some people point out, well, he was basically spreading Russian propaganda, but that doesn't matter. In the United States, if you put Russian disinformation on the internet or something like that, maybe you get banned by YouTube or you get banned by Zuckerberg or something like that. You don't get put in prison to eat the stale potatoes and then probably die of botulism or something like that. Have you seen Ukrainian MREs, for example? Yeah, consider that to be the highest quality processed food that you can probably obtain because of the beefy military budget. We're giving Ukraine billions and billions of dollars, and yet you just killed one of our citizens. And it is effectively murder. It appears that the prison, the claim is that they were negligent and actually torturing him. And I believe it. And so too would the legacy media a few years ago before the war began. Ukraine's justice system was considered ultimately corrupt. Its government was considered corrupt, bribery and embezzlement and all sorts of intrigue. Its military was considered corrupt. Everything about Ukraine was considered to be corrupt until the moment the Russians invaded them. As soon as the Russians invaded, all of those headlines disappeared. Zelensky was basically upheld as being the next Virgin Mary, and anyone critical of the regime gets put in a gulag. You've got the Ukrainians messing around with religion. Certainly the things that the Ukrainian government are doing, regardless of your feelings on the war itself. I believe in the Ukrainian people's right to defend their own territory, their own turf. That's fine. But the things, the policies that have been enacted pertinent to that war effort would be considered egregious and absolutely against all human and civil rights in the United States. They'd be unconstitutional. Gonzalo Lira was a fool to go to Ukraine and start criticizing Zelensky's regime. He knew what he was getting himself into. He also, by the way, attempted to flee unsuccessfully. I'm sure that he regrets having made that video. He probably could have slipped through if he had tried. And like in the dead of night, you have to take a quick run over this mountain into a neighboring country. He probably could have pulled it off if he had been a little bit more subtle about it. But that doesn't mean that he deserved to die. I've spoken with Coachredpill on several different occasions by DM. I think I had a video chat with him once years ago as well. And while I don't agree with all of his views, I don't think that he should be murdered for those views. Like, for instance, his opinion with regards to Russia and Ukraine. Pointing out that Ukraine's corrupt, of course, he's completely correct. And we see the roots of that here with his death, of course. That doesn't mean that Russia good, Putin man good, etc., but he has the right to have those opinions, and in a Western or a civilized country, it would be understood that he did. Why was there no effort by the Biden administration to try to extract him? Or at the very least, make sure he didn't die in prison. Say, hey, look, we looked into this prison and we think you're torturing him. Can you please knock that off? All right, keep him in prison, but, at least basic standards of human dignity apply. They probably gave him water torture. He probably had to share his cell with rats, or with some former KGB agent with a number of scars on his face. Not necessarily the most pleasant way to go. So, Gonzalo Lira is dead. It was preventable, but no effort was made to actually prevent that from happening. No logistical effort was made by U.S. or Western authorities in any way to lean on the Ukrainians and say, look, you're basically imprisoning someone for conducting journalism. It doesn't matter if it's Russian journalism or whatever the case may be. Just return him here, or at the very least make sure he doesn't fucking choke to death on a potato, die of cabbage mold poisoning, get botulism from a can of liver or something like that, because it's probably the way that he went. Or maybe he was sick, maybe his wounds got infected from all the beatings that he sustained. So again, not necessarily pleasant. But don't expect the Western governments to talk about it, because of course that would be verboten, because Zelensky is just their all-star. Well, actually, Netanyahu is currently now, if you're in the United States. But the European countries, they still uphold Zelensky as some sort of fucking saint. That's about all. Peace out.